What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. My name is Shanika, and today I am going to recap Coronation Street episodes from May 25th through May 29th. What did you all think about Coronation Street this week? This week of Coronation Street, we were introduced to bad boy Idris Nazir. We also had Tyrone and Ronnie throwing Summer under the bus, which is insane to me. And we had Mary calling to tase Danielle. Listen, we're talking about bad boys like Idris, hard men like Gary, but you guys are overlooking Mary, okay? Mary is an OG, okay? She's an OG. Don't double cross Mary, I'm telling you. You gotta look out for her. What did Christina say? There's always a quiet ones, right? I'm telling you, Mary's an OG. You don't want to mess with Mary. She will call on her people to tase you. She will bring you down. But I thought this week's Coronation Street was actually really cool. I thought that the first half of the week had some really strong storylines, and I thought it landed at the end as well. So I thought it was pretty good. But I wanted to know what you thought. So I took to Twitter and specifically asked you all about your thoughts on Idris and his introduction. So a Twitter user says another Predator storyline. And this user seems to be falling asleep because maybe they've seen all this before. And another Twitter user, Dr. Swirler 2025, says, yet another dodgy character. Yes, we do have some dodgy characters. Listen, Idris is as dodgy as the day is long, but I have some thoughts on him, and I will talk about him later. Another user says, well, he's Harley Idris Elba. And Writing Nav, and hopefully I pronounced your name correctly, Writing Nav 1978 says, he looks a bit dodgy. Yes, you are absolutely right. He does look a bit dodgy, but he's charming, isn't he? A bit charming. One user, Kate Christina, says he's badass. Slam bam entrance for sure. All that needed was some Americana gunfighter music playing. All good, bad, and the ugly. Thank you for that reference. A great Western, by the way. You know what? I can't agree with you more. It was a really cool introduction. I personally enjoyed the introduction. Yeah, it was definitely a slam bam entrance for sure, as you say. 100%. Allison says, I don't like him. Don't like him. Please don't let Leanne get involved in his dodgy dealings. And Brody, yes, I agree. I thought Idris's introduction was really well done. I like the introduction, but he's a bit dodgy and I believe he's a fraudster. I'm going to talk more about this later, but I definitely think he's not as high up as he think he is. Let's just be real. I do see Leanne getting involved with him though, but I hope it's not anything serious. Leanne, it's okay to just have some fun. Have some fun. He's a good-looking guy. He's charismatic. Just have fun. But don't cross that line. I don't need a serious relationship, okay? Seriously. Leanne just makes the worst romantic decisions ever. Like, she's not lucky with love. So I hope that she doesn't get too involved with Idris, and I hope she doesn't get caught up in another man's dodgy business like she did with Rowan. I do think Brody might get caught up though, Allison. I do think he will be, unfortunately. But let's hope he doesn't dig himself too much into a hole. I've also asked you all on Twitter, if Corey could do a storyline that you've never really seen soaps do that much, what storyline would it be and who would you give it to? And Dr. Swirler 2025 again says a menopause storyline. There are quite a few women at that age that it could affect. That is really interesting, and it's a topic that I haven't really seen done much, to be honest. I would love that. So the last question I asked for Twitter is, if you could bring a character back on Coronation Street, who would you bring back? Kira says Michelle Connor. I 100% agree with that. Michelle Connor all the way. Chef Kaz says Tina and Haley, and also Becky. Not Becky Swain, Becky McDonald. I would love that. You know what? If we're in the business of bringing people back from the dead, let's bring Tina and Haley back. Okay, let's do that. Nothing's stopping you all. Okay. And Writing App says Tanya. That's a blast from the past there. But I want to know what you all think. If you could bring back someone else from the past, dead or alive, any soap really, who would you bring back? Right, so let's get to the full recap. Like I said, I enjoyed this week's Coronation Street. So Monday started off with Will. He's looking at the videos posted on social media. A group of teenagers pretty much taunted Megan, and Ali comes in and tries to talk to Will, but obviously he's extremely overwhelmed with it all. So he storms off, and later on he's at Roy's, and Sam comes in, and Will is just really trying to make nice, try to apologize, just try to start fresh. But Sam's not having it, and he basically tells Will that he's ruined his life and that Will's evil. And of course, that hits Will really hard, and he storms off. He comes home to his safe haven, and he overhears Ben and Eva talking, and he just assumes that they think that he's ruined and broken beyond repair because of Megan. So again, he storms off, he gets drunk, and he climbs the scaffolding. But luckily, Hope and Asha sees this. Asha calls Maggie. Hope runs to the Rovers and gets Ben and Eva. Maggie goes up with her bad knees and talks to Will and tries to get him to see sense, try to talk him down. And she gives this really good speech, and Maggie really cares for Will, and you can really tell that she cares for all her boys, right? He calms down, they hug it out, and they all go to back to the Rovers. Things seem to be on the up and up, but later on, Will is taking out the bins, and guess who appears? Megan. Megan appears. Will tries to push her away, but she slips something into his jacket. And Hope sees this, but she doesn't run to the Rovers and tell anyone about it, which I'm actually really surprised about. I thought she was going to do that. But instead, the next time she sees Will, she just tries to talk some sense into Will and encourage him to tell Ben and Eva that Megan met up with him. And you can tell that Will is trying to move on. He's trying to get a sense of normalcy, right? But then later on, he finds what Megan slips him. It was a note with her number, and he decides to call. Midweek, Hope seems to be having a crush on Will. Fizz tries to reason with Hope and encourages her to ease off Will a bit, fearing that she might get hurt. And Hope kind of reads her an entire list of her past failed relationships. She's not wrong. She's mouthy, but she's not wrong in that situation, right? But later on, Will and Hope meet up at the Rovers to study, and some flirting, I guess, on Hope's end, But what I really enjoyed seeing is Will genuinely laughing. Like, he's genuinely laughing and smiling. He just seems to be having a good time. And Eva notices that as well, right? I want to know, what do you all think about Will and Hope? I liked that Will is opening up. And again, it's nice to see him happy. I don't think Will is looking for someone right now. I mean, at least I hope not. He's gone through so much. So I think he just needs a mate. He needs someone who will make him feel happy, make him feel secure. And I think Hope is that person. Interestingly enough, I do think Hope is that person. Fizz doesn't think so, though. She sticks her foot in it when she's talking to Eva about Will and Hope. She thinks that will somehow take advantage of Hope. And I think she means well. Obviously, she wants to look out for Hope. I get it. That's her baby. That's her daughter. I do understand that. But yeah, she definitely sticks her foot in it. And it's just so sad. It's really just sad to see. And poor Eva, like, all she wants is for Will to have some sort of normalcy, right? And she's trying so hard. I've said this before. She's the matriarch of the family. I know people are like, oh, Maggie, she's a protector, she's this, she's that. No, Eva is the one that's holding the Driscolls together 100%. Like, she would do anything. You talk about doing anything for her boys, like, Eva would do anything for her boys to be happy and to be well-rounded, and to be loved. Yeah. And she just wants the best for Will. She really does. And I really hope that Will gets that happiness, whether it is with Hope or not, I don't know. It's just interesting to me that Fizz is just like, well, Will's gonna hurt her, and like, we all know Hope is like, fire lover Hope, she's the one you have to look out for. But I don't know. What do you all think about Will and Hope? Again, for me personally, I don't think they'll really go anywhere serious, at least not yet. But hopefully they still remain mates. That'd be really cool. So we're gonna move on to Danielle and Jody. We have a lot to talk about when it comes to Jody, okay? I really want to know your opinions on Jody, because I'm seeing a lot of people think that she's a pointless character. Personally, I like Jody, okay? I do like Jody. I think she's very intriguing. I think there's so much more we don't know about her. And you know what? I'm going to save my thoughts until after this Jody Danielle Truth Teller recap, because I do have some things I would like to talk about. But let's start off this week. Danielle is still dealing with the truth teller at the beginning of the week, and he decides to ring the police about it. And this puts Jody in a bind, because we all know Jody is the truth teller. Daniel is up in the middle of the night on Wednesday looking at the truth teller's page, just catastrophizing, just doom scrolling, and he's reaching his breaking point. He's not looking after Birdie. He's not paying him much attention. And later on, he gets harassed by a few teens. They filmed the harassment and put it up all on social media. So everyone can clearly see that it's Daniel, and obviously that gets to him, and he goes to speed dial at one point, and Idris, I tell you, he sees the video and he's laughing up a storm. He thinks it's just funny. Ugh, the asshole, isn't he? And then he noticed that, wow, the guy in the video is actually sitting, a foot away from me. It's Daniel. And did he stop? Did he put it away? Did he apologize? Like, oh, I'm sorry, mate. Let me just put this away. I didn't mean any harm. It didn't mean any disrespect. No, he didn't. He did the opposite. He kept laughing. He kept taunting Daniel until Daniel kicked off. He kicked off. You know what? If I was Daniel, I would have done the exact same thing. Like, come on. But he kicks off and storms off, right? Jody goes after him, and Jody and Ken try to talk some sense into Daniel, trying to calm him down a bit, just woosah, Daniel, just calm down a bit. But it seems to be making everything worse. Like, he's just getting more upset. He's just getting completely to his breaking point. And he sees another post on social media, and he completely loses it. He chucks his phone to the wall, and Birdie is witnessing this, by the way, so he's scared out of his mind and he just runs off. And Ken reads him the riot act because, of course, you're scaring your kid. Like, that is not okay. Later on in the week, Ken again tries to help Daniel get sorted, but Ken, bless his heart, he means well, I guess. I don't know, but Ken tells Daniel that he's disappointed in him. Jesus Christ, Ken. Kick a man when he's down. I mean, my goodness, Ken. What are we achieving here? Like, he said the same thing with Peter, if I'm not mistaken. At that point, I get with Peter, like, he was a bit, but come on, Ken Barlow, come on, man. You see Daniel is like on the verge of tears, okay? This man is going crazy. And Ken has the nerve to just be like, oh yeah, you're a disappointment. Jesus Christ. Thank you, Ken. Thank you for the pep talk, Ken Barlow. I appreciate that. It makes me feel 100% better. Thank you so much. My God. So Friday back at Daniel's, Jody is gossiping about Sarah and Gary because earlier she went to David and Shona's and overheard Sarah and Gary. Sarah talking on the phone to Gary. She assumes that they're having an affair. More on that later because I have stuff to say about that. But yes, she's gossiping about Sarah and Gary, but Daniel is basically paying her no mind. He is too focused on the truth teller. Apparently, the truth teller, aka Jody, has deleted everything. So Daniel is pretty excited about that, and he decides to invite the Barlows to lunch and tell all of his family the good news. However, at the bistro, guess what happens? While they were celebrating, while he was at the high, another social media troll pops up. And it's not the truth teller. It's not Jody. But this goes to show that when one troll stops, another troll pops on up. And that's how it is on social media, just in general, especially if you're like in fandom spaces, right? What I don't understand is why? Why, Daniel, do you have these notifications on your phone? Shut it down. You will not know what they're posting because it's shut down. Do I have notifications on my phone? Absolutely not. I don't have Twitter notifications, Instagram. I don't have none of that stuff. Do yourself a favor and just turn off the notifications on your phone. I'm really curious of Jody's end game here. And I've alluded to this before, but a lot of you guys think that Jody's character is pointless. And I can see it. I can understand what you all are saying. But for me, I think what keeps me going with Jody, what keeps me interested, is that the fact that we still don't know much about her. So we still need to figure out the whole thing with Graham and Jody, that connection. Now, after the whodunit, yes, we do know that she stole a USB flash drive, and then the person that she stole it from hired Graham to sort of take care of her. Yes, sure, we get that. But that to me doesn't seem Corydale material, right? Like during Corydale, it was said that it would change the two soaps forever. Nothing that actually happened sort of changed the soaps forever. Like we've all had characters die. Like Billy dying didn't really change the soap. So what really changed it. So for me, it's the connection between Graham. Well, Graham coming back first of all, but Graham and Jody. But I just don't think the explanation behind it is life changing. You know, like it has to be more to it. What exactly is on the USB hard drive? Where in the world was Graham taking her in the first place? He was just going to ride by Emmerdale and keep going to where? Like, what was going to happen? What was the end goal? What was the end game here? It has to be something else, because as it stands right now, it just doesn't seem justified that she was in the crossover. It just doesn't seem justifiable. However, I will say again, Jody is still intriguing. I understand why she's doing all of this to Danielle, to David, because just my opinion here, but I think she's doing it because she wants companionship, right? She wants a family of her own. So she's doing these things to keep people close. She doesn't want to be alone. She hates being alone. She hates it. Look at when Daniel suggested that she move out, what did she do? She started the truth teller thing. And then when she saw how bad it was getting, she stopped. You know, she wants the family. You know, she wants to feel loved. She wants to feel wanted. She wants people around her, you know? So I'm actually interested in this dynamic between Jody and Daniel. Is she actually going to sort of fall in love with Daniel eventually? I mean, is she going to really catch feelings, you know? And then the truth comes out. Who knows? I have no idea. But it would be interesting. I like that dynamic. I mean, that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I could be absolutely wrong. I just personally want things to wrap up a bit more. Like, we gotta know what exactly is going on with her, you know. Let's move on to Theo's investigation, the murder, the whodunit. So Monday's episode started off with George. He's trying to make nice with Todd. Todd is still upset that George told the police that he saw Summer leaving Theo's flat the night of Theo's murder. Back at the bistro, Todd tells Sarah and Bethany that he paid Gary to warn off Theo. Sarah's reaction is really interesting because she didn't seem like she already knew about it, right? And she didn't seem like she already knew about it, right? Do you all think Sarah or Gary had something to do with Theo? Or is it like an affair? Personally, I don't think it's an affair. Based on some scenes that's coming up later this week. I don't think it's an affair. And I also don't think that they killed Theo, because I just don't see Sarah or Gary having Summer rot in prison like that. I just don't see it. I really don't. I don't see George, Christina, Sarah, Gary, or Todd letting Summer take the fall for this. I just don't see it. So either it's Danielle, and maybe she's protecting her kids, or maybe she did it herself, or maybe it's somebody that's not even on the suspect list at all, and maybe they just don't remember what they did. That could be a hint. I don't know. I just don't think it's like one of our core, you know? They wouldn't do that to Summer at all. But Sarah at the bistro says that she trusts Lisa, and that if Summer is innocent, they won't charge her. I feel like she conveniently just forgot about Roy Cropper. Innocent people get arrested all the time, Sarah. But okay, right. So Tuesday at Sarah's flat, she's missing Kit. You can tell like something is seriously going on. And I don't think it's just the whole being knocked out thing. Something more, obviously. Later on, we see Danielle arranging for Theo's funeral. She's buying flowers off of Tracy, and Tracy always trying to get a sale. George comes in, trying to give his condolences to Danielle, but he also tries to play detective yet again, and he's sticking his foot in it. George just doesn't know when to back down. Later on in the week, Todd visits Summer. Tyrone is feeling very remorseful for lying to the police, and that night Todd gets a call and learns that he will be receiving a payout from Theo's insurance, not Danielle's. Thursday, Theo's funeral is happening, but of course Todd isn't attending. Actually, no one's attending. We didn't even see the funeral. So he's mulling over what he should do with the payout. He wants to give it to Theo's kids, and I 100% agree, and I get that. Sarah, on the other hand, is just encouraging him to just spend it. Later on in the week, Todd goes to the bistro, and it looks like George, Mary, and Christina has planned this little gathering. And Todd isn't really having it at first. He's obviously still upset with George, but he eventually caves. Lisa Connor-Swains is there, and she's giving a little death glares. She definitely has her sights on someone. Todd eventually settles in, and it seems like he is enjoying himself, but then Danielle comes and makes a huge scene. Sarah pleads with Lisa to do something about Danielle. Mary, the OG, Mary demands that Lisa use a taser, on Danielle. Savage. Mary is an absolute savage, okay? But the tables turn, and Christina accuses Danielle. Mary pipes up again. I'm telling you, she's an OG. Danielle who is completely on her back foot now. She runs away. Ryan goes after her. My boy Ryan Connor, detective extraordinaire, goes after her. You know what? I'm not going to lie. I thought that he was going to say they slept together, but nope. She just delivered Lisa and Carla's wedding cake. And later on, Sarah goes to the Platts and makes a call to Gary. This is what I referenced earlier in Jody's bit. Very interesting phone call. Friday, we ended with Todd visiting Summer. She looks extremely distraught, so defeated. Summer tells Todd that she thinks Tyrone is lying to the police about seeing her. This is the first time Todd is hearing anything about this, so he goes to confront Tyrone at the Rovers. He denies seeing Summer. He sticks to his guns, but you can clearly see Tyrone is overwhelmed and overridden with guilt. He might just crack, okay? But Ronnie pulls Tyrone to the side outside and they talk. But Sneaky Carl is there to hear every bit of it. I want to know, what is he going to do with the information? Is he going to tell the police? Probably not. I think he's going to use it to his advantage. God, that's Sneaky Carl, I'm telling you. Listen, I don't understand what the big deal is with Tyrone and Ronnie. Just tell the police that you saw Summer. You literally could say, yeah, I just stepped outside for a smoke break. Or I stepped outside for some fresh air. That's it. I don't think anyone actually suspected that it was Tyrone. I don't think even Carl actually suspected it. You know what I'm saying? Until they was acting all funny. But he could have easily just told the police. I don't understand it. And I really just don't understand. Why would they do that to Summer? Why? Why would Ronnie do that to Summer? I just don't understand. I could see if it was Gary, right? Let's say Gary was setting up in prison for something that he didn't do. I mean, still wrong. Don't get me wrong. Still messed up. But Gary can hold his own for a few weeks, until things get settled. Summer, though? No. Summer ain't gonna make it to trial, bro. She ain't gonna make it. It's Summer. They're gonna eat her alive, okay? At least Tyrone feel a little bit of guilt. And he even mentioned, he mentioned to Ronnie, Debbie was in prison for something that she didn't do. I'm very disappointed in Ronnie. Later on, Carla and Ryan put on their detective hats and they try to help Lisa crack the case, but it just drives Lisa up the wall. She's a bit jealous. Of their detective skills, right? I do love that dynamic, though. The whole Connor-Swains family, I really enjoy that dynamic. But later on, Lisa brings Danielle in for questioning, but she seems to have an alibi. And that's when, of course, Danielle goes to the Rovers and accuses Todd. It's just a hot mess. I mean, my goodness. Adam advises Summer to plead out to manslaughter. Things are getting serious. All of this makes me so upset, because Ronnie is really just letting this girl rot in prison for something she didn't do. But let's move on to Leanne and Idris. Bad boy Idris up in here. So first of all, before Idris came, we had a nice break from the dark bits. We have Betsy and Dylan doing a trial run at Speed Dial. Brody goes to Speed Dial, asks for a quick job, but there's these annoying little drunkers being served, and Leanne tries to wrap them up, but they started popping off, and Idris comes in like a knight in shiny armor for some. My first impression of Idris was pretty cool. Like I said, I thought it was a really cool introduction, but I think he set it up, and there's some evidence for that later on. Adam has his suspicions. Later on during the week, Leanne is trying to open up Speed Dial, but she gets interrupted by a really green robber. I mean, goodness, he couldn't hurt a fly. She threatens him with her keys, and he goes running. And guess what? Like clockwork, Idris appears. Wow. My knight in shining armor. Wow. Just at the right place at the right time, I guess, right? I'm just in the area. Ridiculous. How much do you all want to bet that he set this up? I have this feeling about Idris. He's dodgy. I feel like he's not the head honcho. If you are the head honcho, if you're at the top, you do not have to flash your money around. You do not have to act so arrogant. You don't have to do all that. He's a fraud. 100%. Very, very dodgy. Leanne does not heed the warnings of Valia at all, and she goes on a date with Idris to the Rovers, and they talk Peaky Blinders. One of my favorite shows, actually, Peaky Blinders. Got an Aunt Paul mention, rest in peace to Helen McCrory. Leanne also did like a horrible Birmingham accent. I can't really talk, but Idris seems to love it though, because he flirts and he goes in for a kiss. Leanne, honey, I'm begging you, please don't fall for this man. He's a fraud. He's like Rowan. Good looking, charming, but he's a fraud. Idris actually tries to charm Tracy, and I don't know if it actually works, but if it leads to a Leanne versus Tracy fight, I am here for it. Idris is going to be making a lot of waves in Weatherfield. I think he's definitely going to drag Brody down, and maybe Dylan tries to help and bites off a bit more than he can chew. I'm not sure if Betsy has a storyline in that or not. I have no idea, but definitely Brody. I think he sees fast money. But that is it for this week of Coronation Street. I'm really curious about your thoughts. What do y'all think about this week's Corey? What do you guys want to happen? Are you loving Idris? Do you hate him? Do you like Jody? Is there anyone in Coronation Street you actually like right now? That's the question. But yes, I hope you all enjoyed this short recap. I'll be back next week with your recap in Coronation Street. Again, my name is Shanika from Stateside Street, a podcast where two Americans discuss all things Coronation Street. You all have been absolutely fabulous. Stay safe, everybody. And stay cool, because apparently it's a heat wave in the UK. Hopefully you guys can stay cool and stay safe.